Hi everybody. This is a quick review on how you can put together your graphs for the Rolling Objects Lab or for anything else. I demonstrated this in one of the classes and I'll demonstrate it for the other class tomorrow, but in the meantime, if you want to just run through with this real quickly, we'll see. So remember, I've got a time here. I've got all these times listed. These are times that I'm going to be plotting versus position, but I'm going to put them down here in separate columns. So let me go ahead and this reference here, you can see this is G2 here, cell G2. So I'm going to use Lev's trick of equals G2 here. And that just copied that down there. I'm going to scroll all the way down here. I've got a number of values. I'm going to go ahead and copy this down by clicking on that box there and dragging all the way down. And you can see I can get some values all the way down to the 1.8. So that's good. My experimental position, this is in box I2. So down here equals I2, and that's getting that 0.071, and now I'm just going to double click on this and we'll see that automatically fill all the way down. Very nice. And down here I need to get the acceleration. The theoretical position is going to be the position that I expect my object will be at. Here's where I measured the object to be at. Here's where theoretically I expect it's going to be at. And that's based on an x final, x position equal to x initial plus VIT plus 1/2 a t squared. So I'm going to put in a formula here for that. You'll see the formula show up here as I type it in. That's going to be equals the initial position of 0 plus 0 times the time. My time value is right there, so I can click on that and have that go in there. X initial plus VIT plus 1/2 times the acceleration, which I've calculated should be 5/7 g sine theta. So that's 5/7 times g times the sine of, and I have to make it radians of my theta value. I had 5 degrees. So this will convert my 5 degrees to radians so that the sine function will work with it. And remember, it's 1/2 a t squared, so I also have to multiply times t squared. So I'm just going to do that way. And that's going to calculate a value there. Very nice. Let me double check and make sure. If I run that all the way down, it looks like I've got my values set up. So my time values, my experimental positions, and my theoretical positions are all there now. So now I can make the graph. I'm going to click, drag to select that, go up to charts, choose scatter, marked scatter in this version of Word. And you can see now that I'll go ahead and expand this. I've got that data very nicely displayed. It's a pretty good looking graph. Let me run through the process now of getting the lines set up here. The blue data points here are my actual data, so I do want those points there. And I'm going to go ahead and select those guys and make a trend line for those. If you right click or control click on a Mac to add trend line, it'll try to put a line in there that's going to match that data. You need to tell it what type of line you want to do. I obviously don't want a linear function here. I don't think it's linear at all. I think it's quadratic. I think it's a second order polynomial. So you can see that that line does match my data pretty nicely there, so I'm happy with that. Maybe I'll also make that line a slightly different color, and maybe I'll make it a little thicker. So you can play around with some of these things. Don't get too lost in making it look good. There you go. That's nice. I'm also going to click on this option here which displays the equation on the chart. This is the regression that I can use to try and understand what's going on. I'm not going to set any of these other values there. So that's my actual data. The predicted data that I've got here, these are data points that are shown on here, and it's a little bit misleading because those aren't actually data points. I mean, they're data points, but I calculated what those are. What I really want to do is just graph the line of that function there. So I'm actually going to control click on this data and format the data series here. I'm going to get rid of those markers, marker style, no marker, so you can see that they've disappeared there. I do want to get a line for those guys. I do want to set up a line here. So let me actually go ahead and set up a trend for them. Once again, I'll control click on those guys And if I can find them, there they are. Control click I'm having a hard time getting to them. I may be in a little bit of trouble here because it looks like it won't let me actually select those now. Unless I get right on that line. There we go. Control click on that. Format data series. No, add trend line. So I'm going to add a trend line in there, second order polynomial, and maybe again I'll make that a red line or something. And I'll make that a little bit thicker. So good. I've got those two things there. One's my expected, and then here's my actual data. So pretty good, pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the series here too, because I don't care about that. These are referring to the data points. I'll just look at the lines here. And I do want to have these guys be represented, not just series 1. Remember, green is my experimental data. So if I click on these guys, right click, and choose on select data, I'll get to do things like name what that stuff is. So I'm going to call that experimental data. And you can see how it now says experimental data. And then for the red one too, let me click on that one, right click on that data set, select data, and I'm going to call this one predicted data. Oops. I'm sorry. Let's go ahead and leave that in here. I can just check down here and click on series 2. That's the one I'm looking for. Predicted data, or predicted curve. Predicted, what do I want to call that? Acceleration. Predicted positions. There we go. So I've got those going on. I've got those. The last thing I need to do, of course, is put a title and some axes on here. So if you go up to chart layout, you can click on that and choose things like axis titles, horizontal axis title. This is, of course, time in seconds. And then we'll choose vertical, rotated. This will be position in meters. And finally, we'll have our chart title above the chart. And we'll say this is position versus time for a rolling sphere. And that's basically it. That's a great looking graph there. And you can select it and put it into a Word document. You might even be able to save as a picture. If you save it as a PNG, you can do that. That's not a bad way to go. Not a bad way to go, but you might want to just copy paste it. If I copy that there and then open up Word, look how quickly Word opens. It's amazing. And then I'll choose paste. You can see that that document gets pasted in there, and it doesn't look too bad. So, hope that helps. If you have any questions, let me know.